Welcome back to part 5 of a Croydon family at war. And today we're going to talk about George Waite of the Royal Artillery. George was born on the 2nd of February 1921, again in Croydon at number 2 Sydenham Road. And he went to Woodside School. And there's a photograph of his class at Woodside. He's the one at the front in the middle. There's a little blue arrow at the base. George had only just turned 18, along with his brother Tommy, enlisted in the Territorial Army. He must have been immediately behind Tom in the queue, as George's service number ends in 11 and Tom's was 10. He didn't really have much time between school and joining up to build a career. However, he was recorded as being a grocer on his attestation record. This could have meant he worked at a local shop or wholesalers. George and Tom served together until 1943. I've no intention of repeating their service here, as it's already on Tom's detailed in Tom's video. But there's a few bullet points that kind of reflect the highlights of career. And they served together right up until the ship was torpedoed, when they were separated. Again, there's a photograph of them in HMS Elland in Freetown. They were, as we said earlier in Tom's video, they were rescued very, very quickly. There were two warships very close by. They both were in the water together, and they were both brought out together. And there they are at Freetown, waiting to be redispersed. George joined in 1943. George joined the Empire Governor in East London in South Africa. The Empire Governor went on to Table Bay on the 29th of June, Freetown the 6th of August, and was still in the area, Freeport, until May 44, eventually arriving at Belfast Lock on the 3rd of June 44. During his time on board, he was promoted to Lance Bombardier. And there's a couple of photographs there, one of the ship itself, and obviously there's George when he was out, possibly out the Middle East, Far East. Okay, when he got to Belfast, almost immediately he was transferred to the Olev, and he was on board that ship during D-Day. The ship's role was transport materials and beaches, as you know, and they did this on more than one convoy. And these convoys are detailed on the following slide. He also, I believe, spent time ashore, as he had some leave passes and some certain passes to get him through to Caen and to Ouistreham. Again, there's a photograph of Tom at the bottom on the far left. George on the far left, and on the right-hand side is the MV Olev, which he served on during D-Day. Just to show how intense it was, there's a list of the various convoys that he took part of. The convoy work during D-Day landings was relentless and unforgiving, placing immense physical and mental strain on those involved. Crews worked around the clock, navigating crowded sea lanes under constant threat from mines, enemy fire and unpredictable weather, all while maintaining strict coordination to ensure the steady flow of troops, vehicles and supplies onto the beaches of Normandy. There was little room for error. A single delay or misstep could disrupt the entire operation. The pressure to keep moving, combined with exhaustion and ever-present danger, made convoy duty one of the most intense and demanding aspects of the invasion. There's a page out the ship's log from the Olev. It's quite. It's there as you look at the second column on each page. On each side is the dates and the locations and so on, and the work, the journeys, the trips it was on. In red, where it says special sea service, that's the period from when it started to be engaged with the D-Day landings until after the landings were concluded, when it went back to normal recording. On the 18th of October, George was discharged sick on shore and sent to the Royal Herbert Hospital, marking a difficult period in his service as he recovered from illness. A month later, on the 18th of November, he was finally discharged from convalescence, fit enough to return to duty. He was posted to Sea Battery Depot, Royal Artillery at Woolwich, London, beginning the next phase of his military journey. Just a few days later, Woolwich was really a dispersal centre at the time. Just a few days later, on the 21st of November, George was already on the move again, this time heading to Shoeburyness. The pace of change in his assignments reflected the constant demands placed on soldiers during that stage of war. But Shoeburyness garrison, but it was also a massive artillery training area. By the 1st of February 1945, George was assigned to join No. 2 ASTU, which is an Army Selection and Training Unit, suggesting that he was being assessed or prepared for a new role or responsibility. However, his progress was interrupted once more. On the 24th of February, George was again admitted to hospital, bringing another pause to his service and highlighting the recurring challenges he faced during that time. On the 10th of May, George was posted to the London district, marking a transition towards winding down of his wartime service as a conflict in Europe came to a close. Nearly a year later, on the 24th of April, he was transferred to No. 5 Military Dispersal Unit, where he began the formal process of demobilisation and returned to civilian life. Yet his connection to the military service did not end there. After completing his reserve commitment on the 5th of May 1952, George chose to continue serving by joining the Royal Air Force Volunteer Reserve, demonstrating an ongoing dedication to duty even in peacetime. We don't know what branch in the Royal Air Force Volunteer Reserve he served, but it was probably the postal branch. Here's a group photo of George. George is front row seated, second in from the left, with obviously with the other auxiliary volunteers. I suspect that was Mill Hill in London. After the war, George settled into civilian life and built a long and steady career with the Royal Mail. And then widely known as GPO, General Post Office. He began as a postman and through dedication and experience rose through the ranks to PHG and eventually to inspector, concluding his career at the Croydon Head Post Office on Cherry Orchard Road in Croydon. On the 25th of August 1946, George married Dorothy Dot in Croydon, beginning a family life that would see them raise 4 children, Sheila Ann, Carol, Linda and Leslie. In later years, following his retirement, George and Dot chose a quiet pace of life, firstly moving to Devon and then settling in Cornwall, where they enjoyed their years together away from the bustle of London. Thank you for watching, and next time we'll be talking about George's brother Charles. Thank you.